Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is your host Thomas Tyree from On the Hot Podcast. Today I have some bonus content for you guys. The bonus content we'll be covering today will be in the sport of football inside of the NFL world. In today's bonus segment, I'll be sharing a list of players that I do believe need to retire after this NFL season is over. So I have 5 players on my list. These are the following 5 players that I do believe must consider retiring after this NFL season. So starting off with player number 1 on my list is Aaron Rodgers. Now, Aaron Rodgers, I've said time in and time out, I do believe he's the top 5 quarterback of all time. He has the greatest arm I've ever seen in NFL history. That's debatable. But that arm, his skills that he had being an all-time great in his glory days with the Green Bay Packers, I got to say he's a top 5 quarterback of all time. Multiple-time MVP at that. But he has regressed so bad with the New York Jets. He's a former shell of himself. And yes, this is a guy that's 40 years of age coming back from a torn Achilles. But I had that feeling that he might not be the same after that torn Achilles being up there in age and not having the same passion that he had for the game of football anymore. So we've seen that those days of being a mobile guy, being somebody that can make plays in the pocket, having that incredible arm, those days are over. And he's single-handedly destroyed this New York Jets team. Over in basketball, yeah, you see LeBron James take control of any NBA franchise he's a part of, but this is the National Football League. You can't do that in the NFL. And Aaron Rodgers tried to do too many things at once with this New York Jets team. Destroyed the whole entire team. The team finds themselves at 3-8. He got Robert Saleh fired, their former head coach. His former offensive coordinator and Nathaniel Hackett that he had with the Green Bay Packers, he wanted to bring him in. He got him demoted this year. They forced the Jets to give up a 3rd-round pick to get Davante Adams just to lose even more ball games. They even got their former general manager, Joe Douglas, fired a few weeks ago. So this team is not good, and it's all Aaron Rodgers' fault because he's not playing up to par, up to the standards. Everything has fell off. Even the Jets defense, the bright spot of this team, once Robert Saleh left, this defense even regressed as well. So there's no bright spots on either side of the ball right now. And it has to be all because of number 8, Aaron Rodgers. And we're seeing reports that Aaron Rodgers might not even want to be with the New York Jets next year if he continues to play. So he's single-handedly destroyed this team that a lot of people like myself thought they were 1 quarterback away. But they never were. The offensive line has been atrocious. There's too many problems, too many egos getting in the way in New York. So, yes, Aaron Rodgers, I don't think he's going to make a difference if he goes to a different team. The team that might look for a quarterback next year, like the Vikings, even though Sam Darnold's good, he could be a 1-year, he could just be a 1-year player for them. Minnesota Vikings, the New York Giants, San Francisco 49ers as a wild card team. I don't think there's any team that's going to benefit from having Aaron Rodgers on their roster for the 2025-26 regular season. So I think Aaron Rodgers definitely has to consider retiring after this NFL season. Now, next is Ezekiel Elliott. Now, Ezekiel Elliott is completely washed. Those days of being an incredible running back coming from Ohio State, being a 2-time rushing champion, those glory days of him being in his prime from 2016 to 2019, those days are completely over. He's not an impact player anymore in the backfield. Hell, he's not even useful in the red zone anymore. The Cowboys don't even use him in the red zone as a power back anymore. Ezekiel Elliott is completely washed. The wear and tear has caught up to him. We all know in his earlier days with the Dallas Cowboys, his first 3 seasons, he was a bell cow running back on the field for majority of the offensive snaps. The man had a lot of carries, and that racks up on your body as an NFL running back. Absorbing those blows, those hits, carrying the ball several times, that creates mileage on your body. And he's been lacking that speed, that burst, that quick athleticism that he had coming from Ohio State. He has not been the same player, and it showed in the film room. The last 2 seasons, last year when he spent with the New England Patriots for a year, he was not an impact player there. Stevenson took over in the backfield. And then you look at this year for the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, Rico has completely taken over as running back 1 for this team. I mean, there's times where the fullback, Luke, gets more carries than Ezekiel Elliott in a ball game. Him and Dalvin Cook, I don't even understand why Jerry Jones even put the money out to get those veteran running backs. Like, this is the years of 2016 to 2018 all over again. But as I digress, I don't think Ezekiel Elliott's got the juice anymore. He's not useful. I think it's time for him to consider retirement because even on another NFL team at this particular point, I don't see him being an impact player. I think his days are being over as a dominant NFL running. They've been over as a dominant NFL running back, but I think Zeke should consider retirement after this year. Now, next player is Tre'Davious White. Now, Tre'Davious White, pre-COVID, was a shutdown corner for the Buffalo Bills. He was a top 5 cornerback in the National Football League pre-COVID. That's how special Tre'Davious White was. He was locking up these wide receivers, putting military Velcro straps on these wide receivers out there on NFL Sundays, or any given point that or any chance, I should say, that he got to take an NFL field on any given game day for the Buffalo Bills. But injuries and season-ending injuries eventually caught up to Tre'Davious White, and going through those several injuries, especially the season-ending injuries, he never came back being that explosive cornerback that the Bills once had once upon a time ago. He was never a difference maker for this Bills defense, and we've seen he got cut by the Bills during this previous NFL offseason during the spring, and he signed with the Los Angeles Rams, and he could have been a difference maker for the Rams, but during the season, you could tell when you watched him in coverage, he was getting cooked by wide receivers. They were just blowing by him on every given chance that they got. Quarterbacks were targeting him, and it got to the point where Tre'Davious White was getting burnt so bad, and I say this in a respectful way, but he was getting burnt so bad, he became healthy scratches from the Los Angeles Rams defensive lineup before he got traded to the Ravens before the NFL trade deadline. So yeah, he did get traded for either a 5th or 6th round pick, I do believe, to the Ravens, but he has not been a difference maker for this Ravens secondary. The Ravens still have one of the worst secondaries in the NFL, one of the worst defenses in the NFL this year, and I don't think if Tre'Davious White was in the lineup, he would make much of a difference to this defense. So I think Tre'Davious White, definitely, if he wants to, he can still float around the league, but I would consider retirement if I was Tre'Davious White after this NFL season. Now, next player is Tyron Smith. Now, this one's going to hurt because Tyron Smith gave everything he could to the Dallas Cowboys over the years. Me being a diehard Dallas Cowboys fan, we should have got Tyron Smith at least one Super Bowl over the years, having those stacked rosters when Tyron Smith was in his prime, when he was healthy, when the Dallas Cowboys had one of the best offensive lines in football. Oh my gosh, the glory days of Tyron Smith, Zach Martin, Travis Frederick, on the line, man. Man, those are the glory days of offensive line glory for the Dallas Cowboys. But injuries and aging has definitely caught up to Tyron Smith over the years. In his prime days with the Dallas Cowboys, he was one of the best offensive linemen in football. But over the years, he's missed several games due to injury. I think injuries is the reason why Jerry Jones didn't want to bring a veteran guy back like Tyron Smith, a guy that was led by example for the Dallas Cowboys locker room for years and years for this team. But I don't blame him. I don't think Tyron Smith was worth the money at the time. So he's having his worst season ever with the New York Jets. He's not the same player. He's a former shell of himself. He's very slow on the offensive line. Whether it's run blocking, pass blocking, he is not his former self anymore. And we see that when all it takes is simple swim moves or a duck and under moves from defensive linemen, edge rushers to get past him, to get sacks or create pressures on Aaron Rodgers in the backfield from the New York Jets this year. So Tyron Smith, I think he is, if anybody on my list, he's definitely somebody that should retire after this season concludes. Now, final player on my list is Odell Beckham. I think it's time for Odell Beckham to hang it up. And I know Odell Beckham is one of the most popular players of this generation, especially at the wide receiver position. The route running skills, he's a phenomenal, in his glory days, he was a phenomenal route runner. The speed, the athleticism, the hands, he was everything that you wanted in a dynamic wide receiver in the National Football League. But injuries have caught up to Odell Beckham, and the injuries are the reason why he's not even a factor in this Miami Dolphins offense this year. I'm thinking this guy could have gave us a little bit of juice to play alongside guys like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle for this track star Miami Dolphins offense this year. But Odell Beckham only has 8 catches for 50 yards this year. That's pretty sad to say. And I am happy that Odell Beckham did win a Super Bowl in his career with the Los Angeles Rams, and they brought him in a few years ago to help them win a Super Bowl. And the way how they were playing against the Cincinnati Bengals, the way how he was playing, being an explosive wide receiver, setting the tone early for the Rams. I think if he never tore his ACL again in that game, he would have won Super Bowl MVP that year, the year the Rams won the Super Bowl against the Bengals. So I'm just seeing Odell Beckham. He's not a difference maker anymore. He's had several season-ending injuries, 2 torn ACLs. Last year with the Ravens, unfortunately, he was not a difference maker. And this year with the Dolphins, he's not even a factor at all with this Miami Dolphins team. So I think Odell Beckham should really consider retiring after this 2024-25 NFL regular season. But those are my thoughts on the following players that I do believe should retire. As great as they've been, I think all 5 of those players should consider retirement after this NFL season concludes. But that is all the time I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. This is your host, Thomas Tyree, signing off. And I'll see you guys on next week's episode.